Today we commemorate 70 years since the liberation of Auschwitz, and you mentioned, Piotr, Primo Levi. He was an Italian Jew who survived Auschwitz, and he wrote, "I'm constantly amazed by man's inhumanity to man. The Holocaust was an age of atrocity and an age of impunity. In the years that followed, people believed that we grew more civilized and synthesized, that atrocities would not befall us again. Well, then there was Cambodia, Rwanda, Eugene, Darfur, and Bosnia. History has shown us that there will always be some people who believe that some lives are worth less than others because of their nationality, because of their ethnicity, and because of their ancestry. They fail to understand that while we may not be brothers and sisters in faith, we are brothers and sisters in fate, bound together by a common humanity. The Holocaust did not begin with ghettos and concentration camps. It began with the Jews being degraded and dehumanized. The Nazis stripped the Jews of their property, their dignity, and eventually their lives. We see this same indifference for Jewish life today. The terrorists who murdered 4 Jews in a Paris grocery store 2 weeks ago didn't see Yoav Khatab as someone's brother, or Yoav Cohen as someone's boyfriend, or Philippe Baram as someone's husband, or Francois Michel Saada as someone's father. He saw them as less than human and killed them in cold blood. 70 years after the Holocaust, European Jews are once again living in fear. They're being attacked on the streets for wearing a kippah. Their businesses are being vandalized, and firebombs are being thrown at synagogues. Europe is facing an epidemic of anti-Semitism. Last summer, there was an outbreak of violent protests following Israel's conflict with Gaza. In France, Jewish worshippers in synagogue were surrounded by an angry mob claiming to protest the policies of the Israeli government. Let me be clear. The demonstrations didn't choose to protest outside the Israeli embassy or a government office. They aimed their attacks at Jews in a house of worship. This wasn't an expression of legitimate criticism or freedom of speech. This is the newest incarnations of the world's oldest hatred. Here in the United Nations, in this institute, Israel is regularly singled out for attack. These attacks may be masked as criticisms of Israeli policies, but very often they reveal a bias that runs deep within this institution. Consider the following. There are 20 times more Human Rights Council resolutions passed against Israel as compared with any other country in the world. This is neither logical nor moral. Heads of states and ambassadors have stood in this institution and compared Israel to Hitler and the Nazis. This is not legitimate criticism. When you walk today through the gates this morning, you pass the flags of all 193 member states. There are 25 flags with a cross on them, 15 with a crescent, and only one flag with a Jewish Star of David. For some people and some nations, one Jewish state is one too many. They would like to see the day when Jews are once again scattered, homeless, persecuted, and defenseless. People speak about Israel's right to self-defense, but when Jewish lives are threatened and Israel acts to defend them, we are largely denounced. We've been humanity's canary in the coal mine for too long. Well, no more. Today we have a strong state of Israel standing guard day and night. Abba Eban, Israel's former foreign minister, saw the bias and said, "It's better to be disliked than pitied." He was right. Israel is the only real democracy in the Middle East. It is the only country in the region with a free press, with free elections, and a free speech. And it is the only country and nation defending the rights of women and minorities. We will always defend these values, always. And if we have to be disliked in the process, then so be it. The alternative to being pitied is no longer an option. Israel will never relinquish its right to defend the Jewish state and the Jewish people. A Jewish proverb teaches us from Hebrew, Mavet v'chaim b'yad halashon. The instruments of both death and life are in the power of the tongue. I look around the world and I see political leaders claiming that there is a sacred duty to slaughter the infidels. I see religious leaders declaring that homosexuals are less than human. And I see school teachers encouraging young children to grow up and become martyrs. In classrooms and houses of worship across the globe, children are being taught violence instead of tolerance, and martyrdom instead of mutual understanding. For too long, too many have been too silent. Fearful of the need to be politically correct, nations have been reluctant to speak truthfully, clearly, and loudly. Some people claim to stand for liberal values, but from their ivory towers they can't seem to see that extremists are using human rights to abuse human beings. They're using free speech to abuse free expression. And they're using the media to abuse journalists. If you want to prevent the next mass atrocity, then there can be no ambiguities or equivocations. Say it like it is. Radical Islamists are the single greatest threat to global peace and security. I'm here to tell you that we all have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to fight for the values we all believe in. Extremists are attacking human rights and human dignity, and we are not doing enough to stop them. The dangers of indifference and the consequences of inaction are just too high. We must stand together and proclaim that there can be zero tolerance for prejudice, there can be zero tolerance for teaching children to hate, and then can be zero tolerance for extremism. The United Nations emerged from the ashes of the Holocaust to stand up for humanity. It is a responsibility that each and every one of us carries every single day. The Holocaust taught us that remembrance without resolve is absolutely meaningless. And it showed us that awareness must be matched with action. We have a duty to act. A-C-T. A, we must be attentive to recognize the warning signs. C, we must condemn all these who are motivated by prejudice. And T, we must teach the next generation tolerance and understanding, because only through education change is possible. Together, we must stand with courage and determination to defend our freedom, protect our values, and confront those forces who would take them away. Only then can we say the words, "Never again," and know that these words have meaning. Thank you very much.